Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul, and welcome your faces, or your ears, more likely, to what is going to be the second episode of what I am now officially terming the Thinking Out Loud podcast. The podcast where I, and whoever happens to be with me at the moment, talk about literally whatever we want, for however long. I mean, basically, we're the Jack FM of podcasts, and yeah. I'm here today with a friend of mine. We'll just call him Kwondo5 because that works. And I really don't have an agenda for this episode of the podcast. I mean, it is talk about literally whatever, so I think that's what we're gonna do. I do want to kick this off though with something I've been wanting to talk about that I saw popping up on my perusing about the internet the other day. I was talking with a friend about cameras, and he was wondering advantages of mirrorless over traditional DSLR. And I was talking about jumping to mirrorless, because that's something I want to do eventually for my business, and just personally, I want to make the jump to mirrorless camera systems. And Sigma, who up until now, basically, with the exception of a couple things, has made primarily lenses. They're known for their lenses. They've now actually, and I don't know if you've seen this, Kwondo, but they released, or not released, I think it's been not teased, but like there's a prototype kind of sort of version out.
Like hinted at?
Yeah, it's been hinted at. What they're calling the Sigma FP, and this is a really small, like it's the size of my iPhone. Full frame 4K cinema camera.
Wow.
I know. I was like, wait, it's the size of my phone? And it has all of the usual, ports and attachments and whatnot that you'd use for, recording, on an actual, like, professional set and doing things, that you would do when shooting, whatever's commercials, low budget films, stuff like that. We don't know a price tag just yet, at least not that I've been able to find out. But the fact that technology in the filmmaking industry, which you and I are both interested in, the fact that technology has come so far so fast, like a cinema camera that you can actually fit in your pocket and it shoots full frame 4K cinema DNG raw.
That's amazing. Quite honestly, I'm wondering, it's like, okay, how would you fit different lenses on that thing?
Well, it's got. Let me actually pull it up here. It's got a petapixel, I think it was. I don't remember the mount off the top of my head. That's why I'm pulling it up. But it's got. Come on, webpage. Scroll down, please. I'm not seeing mount information, but it's a full frame mount that you can adapt. Okay, L mount is what it is. Which is the same, I believe, that Panasonic uses. So you can adapt, like it's one of the easiest mounts to adapt other lenses to, like Canon, Nikon, it's a Sigma native mount, but
right,
really, they've made it in such a way that it's really easy to adapt, and I was like, ooh, I mean,
no, that'd be sick.
Yeah,
that'd
like I want one of these now.
Yeah,
and with the point that I'm at, I am trying to build a photography and video production business, a sole proprietorship. It's tricky, but the point that I'm at, I know that I'm going to need to upgrade the gear that I have sooner rather than later. It's considerably cheaper, actually, at this point, to jump to a mirrorless system than it would be to go to a DSLR that shoots video in 4K. Because at this point, my options there are Canon's relatively new-ish EOS R, which is like 20-something hundred, like 20 $300 or $400. I can't remember exactly. That's mirrorless.
Okay.
But if I go traditional DSLR that shoots 4K, I'm looking at either Canon's 5D Mark IV, which is like $3,000 to $4,000 for just the body, or the 1DX Mark II, which is 5,300 something for just the body. But if I go mirrorless and I go with something like Sony, they just relatively recently released the A6400 within the last 6 months, I believe. Released the A6400. It's not full frame. It's an APS-C size sensor. Same sensor size as. What camera do you have currently?
I currently have the Canon ESO Rebel T3i.
Okay. So it's the same sensor size as that, but what it does is it actually shoots video in 6K, and then downsamples it in camera to 4K. So you get really sharp and crispy 4K.
Sharp and crispy.
Yes, sharp, crispy, tasty, delicious. And it'll shoot. Well, let's see. It shoots in 6K, downsamples to 4K in camera, so it's all nice and crispy, and does various frame rates. I think it shoots 4K 60p, like 60 FPS, and 1080p 120. Yeah, 120 frames a second. But that one, for just the body, is under $1,000.
Okay.
Like it'd be way cheaper, and I could keep my existing lenses and just adapt. So it'd be a lot cheaper for me to jump to mirrorless, to over like a Sony system. But the point, I guess, that I'm making in all this is the fact that, like, okay, think about when I started, like, really started getting into this whole industry. That was 2012.
Yeah.
When did you start getting into it?
Roughly about the same time as you. I started trying to look into it roughly around 2010, 2011.
2010. Okay, so about the same.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, you and I were working on a feature film project back in 2012.
Yeah.
And we shot that. Like, that was shot on the Canon Rebel T3.
Yes, it was.
Which, honestly, like thinking about that now blows my mind. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, no, we shot that. I think I had one. Did I have one at the time? I can't remember now.
I bought one 2 years later, actually.
No, actually, I had bought a camera and I had taken it down on the shoot, and then the director and the DP were using that, and then I was running around. I was the gaffer for all of it.
Yeah.
And then you were my assistant with all of that. So yeah, that was getting to do that, and then switching up the roles. That was really fun. Took about 2 weeks, I think, to make just actual production.
Well,
principal,
yeah,
right.
Principal. Let's see. Were you involved in second year?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, because the first year was the first year, 2012, was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then second year, 2013, was 3.5 weeks, I think, almost a month.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. And we shot that on the Rebel T3, which, thinking about it now, kind of boggles my mind, because with how far cameras have come since then. And I mean, I remember the director of the film. Oh gosh, what was it like? Didn't he release like a Kickstarter sort of campaign for it?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Yes, he did. I believe he did release a Kickstarter campaign, and he got some, but not all of what he needed.
Yeah, because I remember in the I remember in the Kickstarter video, him talking about how they wanted to shoot the film on Red, which Red had like basically just. I don't want to say started, but just had kind of risen into prominence, I guess you could say, to like, you'd go anywhere in the industry, and
You knew what the brand was. You knew what the
Yeah.
cameras were, and
Yeah, it'd say red, and people would be like, "Oh, the cinema cameras." Yeah.
yeah.
And you know, I was like, "Oh, that would be so cool." And then we ended up shooting on a Rebel T3, which the results we were getting out of that just goes to show, basically, like, and I'm not bashing that camera at all, because I had one for 4 years.
Yep.
And
I still have mine. I'm staring at it right now.
yeah. In fact, I still have mine around here somewhere, just to keep it. I guess it's got sentimental value. I've since upgraded, but
Oh yeah.
the results that we were getting out of that little thing, man. I mean, goodness. It really goes to show, like, the fact that we shot a feature film on a Rebel T3 goes to illustrate two things. Number one, it doesn't matter what you have, it's how you use it.
Yes.
And number two, bright pixels are sharp pixels.
Yes. Bright pixels are sharp pixels. Are
Pixels.
sharp pixels.
Pixels. Yes. Pixels.
I can't speak the English language either.
I mean, I'm very not good. Very not good at English. That was yeah, see? Case in point. It's not what you have, it's how you use it. And I mean, the fact that, like, we knew what we were doing, you know, as DPs, the DP on both first and second year knew what they were doing, because they lit it in such a way that it's like, okay, you know, yes, we shot the thing in 1080p. It wasn't 4K. 4K was still very much a new thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, even now it's not industry standard. It's close.
They're slowly reaching towards that, quite honestly. The problem I have with 4K is that you would have to have a screen, you know, 8 feet wide by about 6 feet tall in order to get something that huge onto a screen to see the full detail. I mean, that's pretty much a wall. You need a wall, this, you know, just for your TV.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you'd necessarily need something that big anymore. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, you would still definitely need something big.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't necessarily know about that big, because 38, what is it? 3840 by 2160? Yeah,
and we're just talking about 2K. You know, 2K can fit comfortably on like a 72-inch, you know, LED screen TV now, and you can comfortably kind of watch stuff on that. But if you go 4K or higher than that, you're like, okay, take it to the IMAX. That's the only place where you're gonna see that kind of quality pop up at you.
Kind of, sort of. I mean, I have noticed, like, that as time has gone on, that higher resolutions on smaller screens just look really good. Okay. When I was at NAB in Vegas this year in April, they had a screen that was an entire wall. It was about the size of, you know, a wall in just like a typical living room, you know. Mm-hmm. It was it was probably like 18 by 22-ish.
And that's in feet, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in feet, so it's not like giant, but it's big. And that was native 16K.
Yeah.
Resolution, which was bonkers. Like, I mean,
would you almost like walk up to the screen and like expect to step through it like it was actual Portal?
yeah, pretty much. You're just like, can I walk through this screen and just be in this environment? And that's ridiculous. And then they had some screens that were, like, the screen itself was actually 4K resolution. And they're not that big. Honestly, you can fit one of them relatively comfortably on my desk, and I don't have a giant desk.
Okay.
They're not huge. It's when you go like to screens that could technically accurately project higher than 4K, like 6K screens. Those are big. Those are really big, and like they're not that much of a thing because, like, you know, you go to the store now, you go to Walmart, you go to basically wherever, and you go to the electronics section. and all of the screen sizes that you're seeing, all the screens that you're seeing, they're 4K, 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 4K. So it's getting to the point where 4K is becoming standard. Like everybody has something that can, not everybody, but most everybody has something that can project or view 4K.
True.
In their homes. And so the fact that like, you don't need 4K. Like you don't need 4K. It's not standard yet. In fact, there's only like 3% of the population that can actually properly view 4K.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of disagree with that, but only kind of. I'm on the fence because on one hand that's true, and on the other hand that's not. I guess my reasoning behind this, and a reason why I would like to begin, doing my client work in 4K natively sooner rather than later, is the fact that you don't need. Oh, thank you. You don't need 4K, but like most clients are going to be happy enough with 1080p. For the time being, I have had a lot of people asking me if I can do stuff in 4K, and I'd like to be able to do things in 4K because being able to shoot something in 4K, and then if they want it in 1080p, I can just downsample to 1080p, and 4K downsampled to 1080p looks way better than native 1080.
True. Yes, I have had that. I've had people ask me if I can just do 2K and then bring it back down to 1080.
Yeah, it's like,
and
no.
Currently I don't have that ability. Excuse me, I don't have that ability, but yeah, I would eventually like to kind of try to stick with Canon, but if not, I'd have to switch it up to Sony, which are actually cheaper cameras than Canon in some cases.
Yeah. The one thing I do like about Canon is color science. You don't have to tweak the image as much in post. And like the thing that is sad is how, like, I guess you could say far behind Canon still is. Because they want to protect their cinema camera line, which is why all these other companies like Sony and Sony, Panasonic, even Fuji have come out with not DSLRs, with mirrorless SLRs. No, not that wouldn't be an R. It'd be a DSLM, digital single lens mirrorless. That they're shooting 4K. They're shooting 10-bit internally. And 10-bit footage for grading is way, 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 way better than 8-bit footage. If you try and grade 8-bit footage, and this is an issue that I've been running into, if you try and color grade 8-bit footage, in a cinematic fashion, you get a lot of banding because the codec just can't handle it. It's not made for that, because what Canon has offered as far as DSLRs and the smaller cameras go that shoot video, they're made for photography, and video is just tacked on as an afterthought. Much.
Very much. And
so it just kind of bugs me, because I would love to stick with Canon for multiple reasons. Number one, their UI, the interface, like in the menus, the buttons, what everything like that does. Like, I'm so familiar with Canon systems that I can operate a C100, C200, their cinema camera line, and any of their DSLRs pretty much, in the dark, blindfolded with my hands behind my back. I know Canon through and through at this point. But I can't, with how fast technology is moving forward in this industry, and with what people like myself are trying to do, build a business and do the photography and videography thing full time, as a livable income. Yeah, being able to do stuff like shoot in 4K, which future proofs your footage, and being able to deliver considerably higher quality content to clients, it is nothing but it may be a little more expensive to invest in, which at this point it's actually not. It's cheaper
yes.
to jump to a 4K mirrorless camera. It's future proofing your footage. it's upping the quality of the content that you can produce and give to people significantly, which in turn makes you more money.
True. Yes.
And it's like, okay, you know, I love Canon for a number of reasons. You know, their UI, their color science, their lenses. But it's like, I'm at the point where I can't, in good conscience, really stick with Canon.
Yeah, no, you need to move to something that you can afford. And same thing goes for like hardware for like editing as well. I was a hardcore Apple person.
Yeah.
I really was. And then I got
I still am, actually.
Well, I got married, had a daughter, and one day my little, at the time, 1.5, almost 2, she just erped up on my keyboard of my laptop, and it just shorted out in 30 seconds.
Well, there goes your MacBook.
Yep. Trying to go back to replace that, and they want like almost $3,000 to replace a MacBook Pro. I'm like, nope.
They're crazy. I mean,
yeah.
The top of the line 2018 fully maxed out 15-inch MacBook Pro is almost $6,000.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. I'm still in the Apple ecosystem.
Okay.
Because I've got the iPhone, and the integration between iPhone and Mac is fantastic. I love it. And when it comes to video editing, photo editing, I need something that's portable but packs a punch that I can take with me. And I was like, okay, MacBook. One of the main reasons I'm still in it, though, is because ProRes. You can't get ProRes codecs on Windows machines. And a huge chunk, like the vast majority of the industry, codec-wise and whatnot, still runs on ProRes. And so the MacBook that I had previously, okay, let me back up a little bit. For those of you listening, I just moved back. I'm in Colorado right now. I just moved back earlier this month from Texas. I was at an internship with an organization, with a production company, and everything in there ran on Mac. Everything was done in ProRes. And when the Mac that I'd taken down there bit the dust because it was a mid-2012, and they were like, here, we shot a whole bunch of stuff with this cinema camera and with your 6D Mark II, and we shot in log, and it needs to be color corrected. I was like, oh, actually, it needed to be color matched, and then color corrected, and then color graded.
Oh, for fun.
And they were like, yeah, by the way, this is a DP's job. I was like, because that's what I was down there. I was director of photography, which the thing that's strange is after 4 months of being there, because of all the experience I had previously. I mean, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, I've been doing this videography or this filmmaking thing for 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was like, wow, okay. But within 4 months of being there, they had made me lead DP, so I was running that department. I was running that part of the show, which was interesting. But they were like, okay, we've got this footage that we shot with a C100. We had a C100 Mark II, and then I was shooting with a 6D Mark II. And I had installed log profiles on my 6D Mark II, and so it could be graded a little better in post and all that sort of stuff. And so it was a music video shoot, and they had shot on both cameras. And so after the shoot, the day after the shoot, they came to me. Like, I was on the shooting. And the day after the shoot, they came to me and they're like, hey, so we need this footage. We need it color matched. Like, we need these two cameras, footage from these two cameras color matched. And then it needs to be color corrected and then color graded. And they were like, that's, and they're like, by the way, that's the DP's job, not the editor's job. I was like, okay. I don't know how accurate that is, because this place ended up being a total screw over. But
Yeah.
That's what I was told. So I operated that way. I was like, okay. And it's really interesting matching 8-bit, like 1080p 8-bit footage from a DSLR with, I can't even remember the bit rate for a C100. 24, 35, depending on the, okay, because it would shoot either AVC HD or MP4, and depending on what you were shooting in, you could either shoot 24 megabits per second or 35. And so I think they were shooting in 24. So you're matching 8-bit footage, which cannot, you can't push the colors around nearly as much as you can with 24. And so I was matching these, and my mid-2012 MacBook with Premiere Pro 2019 didn't like it at all. And so that thing died on me real quick. And so I bought another one. I was like, I need, you know, I was actually going to buy a Windows laptop because I could get the same amount of punch for less money.
Okay.
Like, I could get the same amount, actually a little more, like, power for less money, but it was a bigger package. And I was, like, it wasn't just portable. It was still a laptop, but it was a big one. Anyway, I almost pulled the trigger on that one.
Yeah.
Until I realized that everything in this industry, it was kind of an oh duh moment. Everything in this industry runs off of ProRes, pretty much.
Yeah.
And you can't do ProRes. Like, you don't have access to that codec on a Windows machine. I was like, well, I have to. I was like, well, great, I have to stick with Mac. So I'll hail the power of eBay. I scored a new late 2017 13-inch MacBook Pro that has a quad-core i7 processor in it.
Hey, there you go.
It's the 3.5 gigahertz base clock speed up to like 4 point something, so it's pretty zippy. It's got a 1 terabyte SSD. It's got like onboard the Intel Iris graphics and an NVIDIA chip, I believe, in it. I mean, I don't have it right in front of me, so I can't remember. Point is, I can throw 4K at that thing. I can color grade 4K 10-bit footage in Premiere Pro and do a whole bunch of After Effects stuff with that, and I'm flying. And all hail the power of eBay. I spent about $1,700 on it.
Nice.
Yeah, something like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, for a Mac, that's not bad. So I'm still in the Mac ecosystem and will be for the foreseeable future. I mean, there may be a day when I make the jump actually over to PC for most of my editing. But at this point, with what I'm shooting, how I'm shooting it, and, you know, the projects that I have on my plate, plus all the running around I do, it would just make more sense to, you know, stay with the slim but packs a punch.
Oh, yeah.
It is more expensive, though, for sure. The fact that, I don't know, it's just crazy. The fact that, you know, technology in this industry has come so far so fast. Like, we went from, oh, you can shoot 1080p 24 FPS video on a DSLR. We're like, oh, that's totally cool. And now we're like, okay, so now we're making mirrorless cameras that fit in your pocket that shoot in 6K and downsample to 4K. And then there's one that can also shoot 12-bit RAW. Like, I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, yes, it is crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. And the fact that, like, not only has the technology kind of gone nuts in the last... Shut up, Facebook.
Well, okay, if that's how you feel about it.
the fact that you can shoot, or like the fact that you can shoot, you know, 12-bit 4K 60 FPS RAW for, okay, like specifically talking about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, which I have my eyes on because 4K and RAW and high frame rates, and the body only is $1,200.
Okay.
Like, I mean, there's so many options out there now. It just kind of like it boggles your brain. It's like, is there seriously like technology out there that can do this now, that is small, is lightweight, it's inexpensive, you can get ridiculous results?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
I mean, it's crazy. And like, it's hard to keep up with, but I love it, you know?
Oh, yes.
I love how fast things in this industry move. And like I'm still sitting here thinking about the fact that I am building my own business around something that I love doing. And that it has the potential to scale to the point where I hire on people. Like has potential to scale to the point where I don't need the day job. I can do this full time, and has the potential of getting to the point where I can hire on people, you know?
Yes, exactly.
And all for the, like, I mean, gosh, the gear I have now, I've spent maybe just under $3,000 on. And once all the licenses and the paperwork and all that sort of stuff is done, starting up the actual business and getting everything legally set up and ready is going to cost me about $150.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's nothing, all things considered.
Oh, yeah.
And it's crazy. It's like, I mean, this is still one of the hardest industries to really get into if you want to do the whole, like, go actually shoot, you know, and be a part of the big narrative, like the Hollywood style stuff. That's not easy at all. But if you really want to jump in and do, like, you know, if you want your full-time occupation to be, you know, running your own production like small scale production company, yes, it's hard. It's like, I'm not going to deny that. Your brain will be crying. You'll have lots of nights where you don't sleep because you're trying to edit something that you have to get to a client the next day.
Oh, yes.
You know, like,
yep.
You'll have all of that. But it's some of the most freeing stuff ever.
Oh, yeah. No, it is very freeing, and it's very invigorating in what am I looking for? I mean, I've done that. I mean, I've done it before I had the ability to burn DVDs.
Yeah.
I was working with a mini DVR camcorder, was my very first camera.
Uh-huh.
And I shot an open house. I used 6 tapes.
Oof.
Basically recorded every living second of that, like a 4-hour open house for this person, and edited down to a theme of one of their favorite TV drama series.
Yeah.
So I did it in that fashion and everything, edited down, got all the music in there that was performed live by her friends and family. Yeah, it was an all-day affair that took 4 hours. And I told the person, not knowing that was my very first gig, not knowing that was going to take me longer than 2 weeks, but I did it in 2 weeks.
Yeesh.
I got it all edited. I edited 4 hours down to an hour. And I had to basically do that when I had a full-time day job, and I would stay up till like 1, 2, sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning, and then be at work by 7. And I did that for 2 weeks straight to get this. And then basically I had to render that video back onto a fresh blank mini DVR tape, and then basically I had a VHS. I had to put it on VHS tape for this girl, and so I took my camcorder, hooked it up to the VCR, and basically recorded it from the camcorder onto the VHS for her, because this was like right before DVDs, kind of were mainstream.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So
the fact that you were doing stuff before DVDs were mainstream, and then I grew up when DVDs had, like, I grew up with VHS. Like I grew up with VHS, and then it turned into DVD, and DVD was all the rage for a long time, and then Blu-ray came out, and now not even Blu-ray is really a thing anymore.
No, it's all digital download.
Yeah, like it's all digital download. It's all streaming services. It's all Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, and you know, it's like, wow, the fact that it's just come so far so fast. It's really exciting. It's like, you know, like, okay,
Yes,
I don't have a day job
well,
because
not right now.
not right now. I don't have a day job because I'm building a company, and like it's hard and tricky, and my brain is crying, and my wallet is like, yeah, this hurts.
Yes.
I mean, I have gigs already lined up, which is good.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I've got gigs lined up, which is good. But it's really exciting for me being able to wake up in the morning, not have to go to a day job, and know that I am actively taking part in an industry that's moving forward faster than I can comprehend. And yet know that, like, okay, I'm putting in a ridiculous amount of work sometimes, and it's tricky and it's hard, but it's satisfying, you know?
Oh yes.
It's really satisfying. I mean, there were several times over the last 6 months that I wanted to completely quit filmmaking.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, you know, and like circumstances and situations didn't help, but I was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. But then it was like, actually, no, yes, I do, because there's nothing else, like career-wise, nothing else that I could do would make me feel as, like, you know, alive as I do when I've got a camera in my hands and I'm hitting record and I'm capturing crazy stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, I came to the conclusion that, like, okay, you know, it's going to suck. Filmmaking sucks.
It will suck most days.
Yeah.
Some days. Not all of them.
Not all of them, but most days. Like, it's hard. It's one of the hardest things to get into, but it's, in my opinion, one of the most satisfying, because you can literally do anything with it. Think about it. Like,
Oh yes.
the sky is pretty much the limit.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to the point where the sky is your previous limit, then the sky becomes your point of view, you know?
Yes.
It's like, I can't complain, really. I mean, like I can with, you know, okay, I've got gear that is very quickly becoming outdated. You know, there's a lot of stuff, like, I'm not understanding why a lot of the footage that I'm shooting now is coming out significantly crappier than it used to. I think it's probably a technical issue with the camera, because I haven't figured anything else out. But, you know, I'm using gear that is failing, and, you know, I don't have a ton of gigs lined up yet, and there's just a whole bunch of other things. It's like, you know, you could worry about this, you could worry about that, but just stop and think about the fact that, yes, it sucks a lot of the times, but you're doing something that you love doing, and you're getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
Like, just think about it that way, and then it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it's really nice when, like you and I, we find something that we love doing, even though it may kill us some days, but we love doing it. And it's just one of the things that you will sometimes go to bed crying over, because you're just so dog tired or something like that. But
I feel you.
Get up the next day and still do it.
Yeah, and you still do it. Like, okay, when I was interning at this organization down in Texas, we were shooting a music video. This is like early February.
Mm-hmm.
We're shooting a music video for a local artist in the Dallas area, and we brought in a couple of DPs from LA, and we were shooting the thing on the Arri Alexa. We had Cook glass, you know, We had some more of the higher profile stuff. We rented a lot words. We rented a lot more lights than the studio originally had. It was considerably bigger production, and it was a 4-day shoot, 4 22-hour days in a row.
Ouch. Now that's just rough. I've never done a 22-day shoot and done 4 of them back to back. That's
a 22-hour shoot and 4 of them back to back. And when we drove back to Tyler, Texas, and one of my friends who was driving, Amanda, she dropped me off at my apartment, and I walked in the door. I was so tired. I walked in the door, walked to my room, sat on my bed to take off my shoes, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I wake up 5 hours later with my cell phone alarm going off right next to my face, and I'm on the floor, like face down on the floor, with my leather jacket, backpack, and shoes still on.
Yep.
Like I was gone. But I mean, like, there was a bunch of other things. Just, you know, the stress of, you know, you gotta, like, you know, time is money, so you gotta go constantly, and then, you know, gear breaking down, stuff not working, just the stress of, you know, moving a whole bunch of heavy gear and doing all this stuff as quickly as you can. And then, you know, there was an instance where I was getting C-stands out of the grip truck and I got hit in the face with the knuckle, the open edge of one of the knuckles of the C-stand arms.
Yep.
And got a nice split in my forehead. That was fun. But, you know, even with all that, you know, the pain, the exhaustion, you know, I'm like the falling asleep standing up on set on the 3rd day.
Yeah.
You know, all of that. I would 100%, like, if one of those DPs or the producer on the shoot, like, if he ever called me back and was like, hey, I've got another project, I would 100% do that again. And, you know, there seems to be a thing, like, a lot of people think that, I've heard this a lot, that, you know, people who are into filmmaking, people who are into this whole thing are completely crazy. And
to a point.
Yeah, I mean, we're a little nuts, sure. But to be able to do something that will beat the crap out of you, and yet you still love doing it, and would much rather do that than literally anything else. I mean,
like, oh yeah,
I can't wait for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what crazy places am I gonna go? What crazy things am I gonna see? What bonkers things am I going to shoot and do? You know, I don't know. It's just it's just fun. Like I get. It could, you know, it's really stressful, and a lot of people would just be like, nope, can't do it, and they could drop it and go off and do something else. But me, no, I can't. And even if I could, I don't think I would.
Yeah. No. Huh. Yeah, no. For me right now, I mean, I just quit a job that I was at for 5 years, and now I'm starting a new one. I'm now an electrician's apprentice, which is nice. Got my first week done with that, and it's been different, but it's just, you know, I'm also really excited because, quite honestly, you need electricians on film sets.
Oh yeah.
And stuff like that. You need them to wire up a warehouse if they don't have enough power or outlets for certain lights or utilities that they're going to use during a film. So yeah, you're going to need that.
And that is, like, will be a big open door for you, because, you know, there's only like one, you know, on a set, there's usually only like one DP, you know, one DP, one, you know, head director. I mean, yeah, there's like first AD, second AD, all that kind of stuff. And then there's your DP and your first AC, second AC, etc. Unless you have like second and third units, if it's something big like Lord of the Rings or something. But you can never have enough electricians.
No, you cannot.
You really can't. And so like you can never have enough electricians. You can never have enough grips. You can never have enough gaffers. Like, I mean, like, so that's a big open door for you because,
yeah,
I mean, what you could do is you could, do what you're doing, the journeyman electrician for several years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could go in and start in the industry as a PA with the, with the grip and electrical department.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like you would make a fantastic PA. and then after doing that a little bit, like knowing what you're doing already coming in, and then being able to get your foot in the door with a PA job, and then getting to the point where like they rely on you, and so like they know you're reliable, and once that project is done, they have connections where they'll be like, okay, someone can get a hold of whoever and be like, hey, I need an electrician, I need a gaffer for X project, and they'll be like, oh, I know a guy.
There you go. Yeah.
That's how this industry works. It's who you know. Being able to get your foot in the door by literally just showing up on set.
Oh yeah.
On set, being like, hey, working with grip and electrical, like in your case, as a PA, getting a PA job, whether it pays or not, you've got a foot in the door, and then you meet people. You meet people, and then you start getting things that pay, and then that goes up, and then your name is like, your name becomes a little more widespread because people talk to other people. Someone's like, hey, I need a gaffer for X project that I'm doing, and someone that you worked with previously could be like, oh, I know a guy,
Oh yes.
And I mean, let's just say this industry is not for introverts.
No, it isn't.
It really isn't.
It's not really for introverts. You really have to be very outgoing and just, you kind of have to speak up for yourself and not kind of bleed back into the background.
Yeah.
So you really have to be kind of upfront and kind of not be like so much in your face type of.
Yeah, no. Those kind of people are just annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But you at least need to be able to, state your position, speak for yourself, and do whatever talking needs to be done to get you wherever you need to go,
Oh yeah.
And
yeah,
that's something I've definitely learned in the last 6 months of my life is the connections you have matter. People matter. Being able to talk to people accurately matters. And how to deal with difficult people.
Yeah.
Like, that's definitely a big thing, because you will meet your fair share of them.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Thinking Out Loud. I'm your host, Paul. And with me on the show today has been Kwondo5. Hopefully you enjoyed the chit-chat. This is going to be a little interesting to edit. You can tell I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to podcasts. But hey, you got to start somewhere. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you want to see/hear more, then this will be up on YouTube. So just go ahead and subscribe, and we'll be all good to go. I won't have to come, poke you at 3 a.m. and remind you to subscribe while you're trying to sleep. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Be hitting you again with another episode hopefully soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.